Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. In this video I'm going over my Draftkings and Fanduel week number 5 NFL final look picks. Happy Saturday to everybody watching. We have a nice slate tomorrow. We have a lot of sports coming up with NBA starting in just about a week, so hopefully we can have a great Sunday to get our bankrolls set up for NBA returning. If you have wanted to join for NBA, you can visit my website, dfsprocess.net. I have passes available. Check out Twitter for updates to stay connected. I'll have a price fix video out probably. If not, I'll have it on Twitter, but I'll probably try to get a video out later today. But let's go ahead and get into this week 5. As always, thank you for the support. You can hit the like button if you enjoyed the video. Subscribe if you haven't already. Last Sunday was great for us. See if we can do a kind of replicate that tomorrow. Needed that after the showdowns weren't that good. Last game was awful in terms of a showdown and just watching as well. But quarterback plays for this week: Josh Allen against Pittsburgh. We have two of the best fantasy quarterbacks going on this slate with Josh Allen and Jalen Hurts. Allen's still had a couple of good games recently, but not like Josh Allen-esque where he's dropping well over 30 fantasy points. I think he'll be able to get back to that this week against Pittsburgh, and being at home. They could be missing some weapons. We know that Dawson Knox been ruled out, and potentially Isaiah McKenzie will be out, who's questionable. If that's the case, then very easy to stack Diggs, double stack Josh Allen with Diggs as well as Gabe Davis. And then Jalen Hurts, the Eagles have the toughest matchup that they've had so far against the Cardinals on the road. They're still favored by 5 points, 5.5 potentially. We'll see what happens, but definitely the toughest test they've had. And the last of these games, the Eagles have they've done a lot of their damage in the first half of games. They've had a couple of games, already one game where they went scoreless in the second half after dropping over 20 in the first half, and I think they have one game where they dropped just like 3 points in the second half because they've already had a big lead. They're just working the clock, running the ball, not wanting to make mistakes and do turnovers in the second half. But this week, I think they'll have to throw, and it might be closer the whole game, so we could see a full game of Hurts and the Eagles marching downfield. Mid-range is basically just Tom Brady for me on DraftKings, especially even on FanDuel. That mid-range for him is just pretty strong that he sticks out there, because on DraftKings we have Jared Goff more expensive, you have Kirk Cousins more expensive, and I'd rather just get to Tom Brady in a great matchup against Atlanta. Values would be Trevor Lawrence against Houston. He's looked good this year. He looks a lot better with Doug Peterson, and we know Peterson's been good at getting quarterbacks to play well back with his days with the Eagles, and Lawrence has kind of benefited from that. Last week, just a bad weather game. He only had 11 completions. He had a lot of fumbles, but it was just wet, rainy, cold, poor conditions, tough defense. He gets to erase all of that this week, going up against Houston's awful defense. And then Zach Wilson for tournaments against Miami. Miami's given up one of the most fantasy points, if not the most fantasy points to quarterbacks through the first 4 weeks. Wilson has good weapons to throw the ball to this year with Garrett Wilson, Davis. Got 2 good running backs he can dump off to. So if you're looking for a GPP type play, Wilson is very cheap. Running back plays this week. I think it's a decent week to go with like one top end guy, one value. Nick Chubb and Eckler going up against each other. They look like guys you can double stack or at least get to one of them if you can. I do prefer Eckler. He's a little bit cheaper. He gives you more upside in the passing perspective. He also will probably get more touches, just with, well, maybe not more touches, but probably more opportunities for snaps, just because Hunt will take some work away from Chubb, and touchdowns could be mostly probably go to Chubb, but there's also a chance it could go to Hunt. Whereas Eckler, coming off of a 3 touchdown performance, finally got into the end zone last week, and he got into the end zone 3 times to make up for his first 3 weeks of where he went touchdownless. And then Dalvin Cook gets a good matchup against the Bears. He's cheap. He's way too cheap, I'd say, on some of these sites, especially FanDuel, where you have lots of guys more expensive than him, like Miles Sanders, Dameon Pierce. They're both more expensive than Dalvin Cook, and Chicago's been bottom 5 in rush defense the first 4 weeks. Mid-range plays would be Leonard Fournette. Gets a good matchup against Atlanta. Atlanta's missing. They're already very thin on playmakers, and they're missing 2 of their best ones in Patterson and then Pitts, even though he's been disappointing this year. But taking those 2 guys away, they're going to struggle to put up points. So Fournette will probably see a lot of work in the second half, just running the ball, I'd say. Jamal Williams against the Patriots, more of a DraftKings play because he's 83 on FanDuel. But he's still a great guy to get to, just with all the touches that he'll get. Probably get another 20 touches. He got 20 touches last week. 2 touchdowns once again. And Lions have the highest scoring team in NFL through the first 4 weeks. They're putting up points. They're averaging like 32.5 points per game. Just been their defense has been able to stop nobody. So that's why they're 1-3. But against the Patriots, their defense isn't great. I think Williams will once again be able to get some work and hopefully becomes a little bit more involved in the passing game. And then James Robinson, a decent value, I'd say, on DraftKings. Peterson doesn't love to rely on rookies a lot, and Etienne's not really a rookie, but he didn't play last year with the injury. But Robinson's benefited by just kind of getting most of the work. They do play 2 running backs alongside each other at times, but Robinson's out snapping and out touching Etienne by a wide margin. And Houston's rush defense is so bad that I think Robinson will be able to get some opportunities, get some touchdown looks, and he also can get a couple of catches. Moving on to wide receiver plays, we have Stephon Diggs as probably my favorite wide receiver pay up, just because Cooper Kupp is really expensive. You can get to him if you wanted to, but I don't mind getting to Diggs instead. It's been a couple of weeks since Diggs has gone absolutely nuclear, and it could happen this week, I'd say, just with them missing a couple of playmakers and Knox and potentially McKenzie. If those 2 guys are out, I think Diggs will get lots more targets from Josh Allen. A.J. Brown's had a couple of, once again, just like Diggs, a couple of games where he's been great. He's been good, but not like must needed for DFS. I think that'll change this week against Arizona, or potentially change, because if the Eagles are having to throw the ball a lot more in the second half than they typically have had to, Brown will benefit. The whole team will benefit. They'll be able to put up more points and just get Hurts throwing for more yardage. And then Mike Evans looks awesome against Atlanta. Tampa Bay's hands down my favorite team to stack on this main slate. Tom Brady's cheap. Evans is cheap. Godwin's cheap. You can triple stack those 3. Even throw in Fournette if you wanted to, but at least get to 2, if not 3 Bucs players. Mid-range, we have Chris Kirk against Houston. Last week, he had 9 targets. He continues to become and be the most heavily targeted wide receiver. They paid him a lot of money. He's played great. He's also been very involved in red zone situations with 3 touchdowns through the first 4 weeks. He had a multi-touchdown game already on his resume this year against the Colts. Gabe Davis, if there is no McKenzie, he looks awesome, especially on FanDuel where he's only 6K. He looks good anyways, playable. But if McKenzie's out, with Knox already out, Gabe Davis will become very easy to stack with Josh Allen, or stack triple stack with Diggs, Allen, and Gabe Davis. Like, those guys could account for all the touchdowns from the Bills. Lots of good value picks as well this week. Chris Godwin is a plug-and-play for me on DraftKings at 59 on FanDuel. He still looks great at 7K. You got some more options there, but he's definitely one of my favorite receivers this week. I love Chris Olave as well. He's very cheap. We know Michael Thomas is out. He had a nice touchdown last week with Andy Dalton, 67 yards. He had 7 targets. Great matchup against Seattle. They haven't been able to stop anybody. We saw the Lions, which they continue to put up points against anybody, but they went off against them. And they've just given up so many passing yards and so many yards on the ground as well. Olave, with that missing Michael Thomas and potentially missing Kamara again, he would be the focal point of the offense. Tyler Lockett against the Saints, if you want to do a bring back, he's also been getting lots of targets from Geno Smith and gives you opportunities for big plays. He's cheap. If you're looking for a bring back, definitely Lockett is a guy to consider. And then values would be like a Robert Woods all the way at the bottom. He's like barely above 5K on both sites, maybe like 59 on FanDuel. But still, without Treylon Burks, and given how bad Washington's secondary is, Tannehill will have to throw the ball a little bit, and if he'll have opportunities to make plays downfield. And Robert Woods is one of the only guys that you have any confidence in catching the ball on the Titans, so he's definitely in play this week. Moving on to tight end plays, we have Hockenson against the Patriots. We know St. Brown is questionable. If he is out, then Hockenson would be the best tight end to pay up for. Dallas Goedert is also looking very good against Arizona. He gets a matchup against his former teammate in Zach Ertz on the other side, so they could go back and forth and try to one-up each other. Mid-range plays will be Tyler Higbee. He's looked really good this year, getting so many targets. They haven't had anybody really step up besides Cooper Kupp in passing situation, and the guy that's been the closest would be Tyler Higbee. With all the targets that he's getting, still hopefully he can get more touchdown opportunities. David Njoku against the Chargers. He's had some good connection going with Jacoby Brissett, getting targets and getting some like screen plays and dump offs as well, short and short passes that he's able to kind of take for some more yards. And the value picks could be like a Quentin Morris with no Dawson Knox. He's kind of been the backup tight end. They also have Tommy Sweeney on the roster, but he hasn't played since week 1, so I expect Morris to get the first crack at it, and Sweeney will get some snaps as well. Finally, moving on to defensive plays. You have two of the best defenses to look at this week. They're both expensive, but the Bills against the Steelers and the young quarterback Kenny Pickett at home will be able to put up some pressure on him, and although he does have mobility, go see them for some turnovers. Love Tampa's defense as well against Atlanta. Tampa, their defense is already very good, and Atlanta's missing a couple of their best playmakers, so it just makes sense to go with Tampa if you're looking to pay up as well. Mid-range plays will be the Saints against Geno Smith and Seattle. They're pretty affordable. Like the Jags against Houston. Houston struggled offensively. They haven't had much success since week 1 where they were able to move the ball a little bit and they had an opportunity to go for the win. But they ended up going for the tie, and Lovie Smith loves ties. So that happened, but they're still looking for the first win this year. And then value picks would be the Jets against the Dolphins. Just with Teddy Bridgewater there, probably have, and potentially not having Tyreek Hill, their offense will take a big hit. And then the Cowboys against the Rams with with Stafford struggling a little bit. Hasn't really looked like himself. Maybe the elbow's worse than people expected. He's still been able to get his best and favorite weapon in Cooper Kupp involved. But it's not been a good story for Allen Robinson once again, just like Robert was last year. Allen Robinson, the second wide receiver, has just been an afterthought on the team. So hopefully Robinson's able to step up, or hopefully Stafford actually looks at somebody else besides Cooper Kupp, because I would hate having to be Robinson and being the second wide receiver and being absolutely ignored 90% of the time. But the Cowboys will be able to put up some pressure on the Rams. They have an excellent front seven. They have still a good secondary, so definitely you can look to them as well. And that's about it for the video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. Let me know if I missed any. Let me know if you guys have other players that you are interested in and high on this week. Best of luck week 5. We're already almost a quarter of the way through the regular season. It's crazy. But hopefully you can make some money, get ready for NBA coming up. And I will see you all next time. Good luck.